Hello, I am Joshua P. Warren, and this is Joshua P. Warren Daily. And I believe the hype over the coronavirus is bullshit. Let me explain to you why I say that. Of course, the stats are changing every single day, as it does with all viruses. Viruses spread, that's what they do. So far, today's stats here on March 6th of 2020 say that 100,000 people have gotten it in the entire world. In the world. World's a big place. 100,000 people have gotten it. Just here in the United States alone, how many people do you think have gotten the standard flu this season? 31 million Americans. Now, let me repeat this. 100,000 people have gotten the coronavirus in the entire world. So far this season, 31 million Americans, just Americans, have gotten the standard flu. Do you see how disproportionate the hype is? Okay, listen to this. As of today, 3,400 people in the world have died from coronavirus. Okay? 3,400 people have died of the coronavirus in the world. How many people have died of the flu just from October to February? Up to 30,000 people from the standard flu. How many people as of today in the United States have died from the coronavirus? Well, they're saying the latest is 14 people have died from the coronavirus. Take a guess how many people in the United States died yesterday in a car accident. 90 people. And guess how many people are going to die today in a car accident? 90 people. They say every single day an average of 90 to 100 people die of a car accident in the United States alone. So you ask yourself, well, oh my goodness. But these numbers, they're going to expand, aren't they? They're going to get bigger. The media tells us it gets bigger every day. Yeah, that's what viruses do. They get bigger every day. Just like the flu. The flu is a virus. It gets bigger every day. But the media is consumed with this coronavirus. Now, let me tell you, I've said for years that eventually I think there is going to be a pandemic that's similar to what happened in 1918 with the Spanish influenza. I just don't see any evidence that this is it. And it's kind of shocking to me just how everybody has taken the bait on this coronavirus thing to the point where the stock market's falling and people are canceling vacations and they're not traveling and they're doing conferences online that they usually do in person, and all this kind of stuff is happening. People don't want to shake your hand when you say hi. It's really kind of shocking. Why on earth would the media be possibly doing that? Why would they do that? Why would they run with it if there wasn't a real threat there? Well, in my book, Use the Force, A Jedi's Guide to the Law of Attraction, I wrote something that you might find of interest on page 90. And I was talking about the way that we expose ourselves to news on a daily basis. I'll read it for you. To make matters worse, most of the time, most of us tune in to some kind of media when we start the day. This is partly necessary in order to check the weather, traffic, or other conditions that might affect how we proceed. However, those messages are always brought to you at a cost. Sponsors. As you know, sponsors are trying to sell you something in one way or another. A seller's livelihood is based on convincing you that you need something. Therefore, you will hear lots of messages that imply in some way that you are lacking something in your life. They seek to sap your self-confidence. suggesting you are in a lower class than you should be. Companies spend millions of dollars every day on psychologists who do extensive scientific research to learn the most effective way to influence your behavior. They have narrowed it down to whether or not you will walk into a store, then whether you will turn right or left or look up or down. We are all rats in a giant capitalistic lab, and you must combat this by producing your own customized, personalized, positive ad campaign targeted only at yourself. And that is how I lead into the idea of effective affirmations. And I'm not talking about, people or doggone it, people like me, that kind of shit. I'm talking about the fact that you have to produce honest affirmations that feel honest to you. So I'm not going to get into affirmations right now, but I wrote about that and I thought about it because you have to take this back to, I guess, Darwinism. The idea that we are alive right now, all creatures are alive right now because we come from this genetic tradition of paying attention to scary things. That's how you survive. I mean, right now, if I say, listen, everything's okay, don't worry, relax, chill out, you're going to take a deep breath. You might even close your eyes. But if I say, oh my God, listen to me right now, you are fucked if you don't listen to me. All of a sudden, every sense that you have is going to focus on what I'm saying to you. And once I've got your attention, I've got you. Because that's what you are. You are your attention. And from there, I say, here is a problem, and now here's a solution. Lauren was telling me that she got on, I guess it was Amazon or whatever, and saw that like a 2-pack of hand sanitizers going for something insane like 40 or 50 bucks. Like, I mean, stores are selling out of stuff. The government's writing a check for billions of dollars. Well, who gets that? Where is that money going? There are people out there who fund these media campaigns who are just loving this, man. They're raking in the dough right now. They're making so much more off of this than they are even off of the actual flu. Because you've heard about that so much that it kind of, you just rolls off your back. Every year you hear about the flu season, so it doesn't have any shock value anymore. The media, and I mean, look, I'm not demonizing the media, okay? But the news media, you just have to understand they make money off of scaring you. And I mean, don't you think it's interesting when you have some personality that you haven't thought about in years, and they never talk about that person until he or she dies, and then now you get to be on the news because you're dead because something bad happened. Every single news broadcast is bad, and and of course there are some that they will sprinkle in, oh, here's our nice story of the day. Here's something good that's happening. But that might be 5 or 10% of it. But 90% of it is all bad. That's one of the reasons that I used to work to some extent in the news media, and I got out of it because I was like, we're not providing a realistic, balanced portrait. And does something have to be negative in order for it to be newsworthy? Does it have to? I mean, I understand. Yeah, I mean, like, we all want to know the bad shit that happens. I'm just like you, all right? I can sit there and eat my cereal and say, oh, look at this horrible shit that's happening to this person. And you can't help that. But when you start changing your life in very dramatic ways. When you start overreacting based upon an obvious propaganda campaign, that's when there's a problem. And I know lots of people, some of them are very close friends, some of them are medium friends, and some of them are far away associates. And I know all kinds of levels of people who are sending me varieties of perspectives on this coronavirus thing that are conspiratorial. That this was developed as some type of a chemical weapon, or excuse me, a biological weapon, and look, I read all of it and I think about all of it, and all that stuff may or may not be accurate. But at this point, it doesn't really matter because I just don't see any of the earmarks. Okay, as a person who has a fairly general understanding of science, and history, I just don't see anything about the coronavirus which makes it stand out in some way that I think that it is worthy of the attention that it is getting. And hey, if you want to believe that, if you want to be scared, go for it. There's no harm in just being as clean as possible. But think about that's another thing. Like, even if this virus were to be as bad as they say, well, good Lord, there's probably a lot of sanitation that's going on right now that should always be going on. Thanks to the publicity. So that's one good thing, I guess. I mean, it's like, you watch the news and they say there are people actually cleaning the shit that you touch on an airplane now. And you go, well, I thought they always did that. There are people who are actually cleaning the shit that you touch now. They're cleaning the rails on an escalator. Okay, maybe this is good. Because, again, you should always be doing this. If this coronavirus was so horrific, then look, there are measures that you would have to take that would actually make a difference. And scientifically, all they're telling you is the same old crap. I've told you this before on the podcast. You've heard it before. Wash your hands with soap and water. Don't touch your face. I mean, like, that's kind of the gist of it. I always say, have some vitamin C every day. I mean, like, it's the same old shit, folks. And yet I see everybody panicking and flipping out about this. So listen, you have to be an ambassador for logic. And I'm just asking you, if you know people who are flipping out, say, listen, if this thing had any potential of being horrible, well, my God, now we're going overboard. And so you probably, overboard to prevent it. And so we probably are living in a cleaner world than ever. Because people are out there afraid. They're thinking about disease. But there is nothing special about this coronavirus, in my opinion. And I know I'll get emails and Facebook messages from people who will try to convince me that there's something else going on. Fine, I'll take a look at anything you present. But this is what I'm seeing right now. So don't worry about it. It's just, when it comes to media, news media, they'll toss something out there. And if it catches on and it starts to work, they can see that. Now, they can see it very easily on the internet. Like, how many people looked at this story? How many thumbs up or thumbs down do we get? Like, it's very easy to gauge media nowadays. And so, unfortunately, media is becoming even more negative than it used to be, exaggerating things because they realize, wow, this really works. We have this very sensitive culture that we live in where everybody freaks out over a little stupid bullshit. And it's so easy to start pushing people and triggering their survival of the fittest instincts and scare them into watching our show so that we can turn around and tell our advertisers, look how many people see this show. That's also what competition will do for you. Because nowadays, a lot of people, they don't even watch traditional news media. And so the traditional news media is competing, and it's harder than ever for them to sell ads. And so, it's part of the desperation of getting your attention, hitting that little spot, your Darwinistic survival of the fittest, alert system saying, "Oh, better look at this or you're fucked." So, look, is that a bit of a rant? Yeah, but I'm just, again, you have to be maybe a bit of an ambassador and explain this to people. All right? Here in Las Vegas, it's really interesting. That's where I am right now. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is a really interesting place because you have people who come here from all over the world. All over the world. It's a world famous city. It's really the entertainment capital of the world. And there are some people here who are freaking out so much that I can't tell if they're joking or they're serious. Like when they leave to go to work, they put on a face mask and goggles and gloves and and it's really funny. I have not let any of this stuff affect my life in any way whatsoever. I just do what I ordinarily do, and yeah, if I get it, I get it. I can't live forever, right? But you just you clean your hands, and so we had our first creepy Vegas ghost and UFO show on the Strip the other day. And yes, I am going to get into this story that I think is really interesting about scientists saying that they think they can now link black holes for teleportation, at least when it comes to technology. Oh boy, I know this is going to happen. I know that's going to happen. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I just want to say here in Las Vegas, we had our first Creepy Vegas on the Strip because we do the Creepy Vegas Ghost and UFO show, which we used to call 60 Fun Paranormal Minutes in a Bar. We do it every Saturday at Millennium Fandom, this very popular pop culture cosplay bar in downtown Vegas, but you have to be over 21 to get in there. And so we decided we would start doing it on another night at a place where, in addition, where people could bring people like their kids and stuff, anybody who's under 21. So now we actually have a gig at Bally's Hotel and Casino on the Strip on Wednesday nights, at least for March and April. It's kind of a trial period for all ages. And as a matter of fact, kids are free. Ages 13 and under are free. So if you go to creepyvegas.com, you can see about that. It's at the Twilight Zone, which is really cool because they have glow-in-the-dark mini golf and arcade and all this stuff. If you go to Bally's, you get on the escalator and you go down the escalator toward the food court and the monorail, and you'll find the Twilight Zone down there. So we had our first Creepy Vegas on the Strip last Wednesday night, March the 4th, 2020, at Bally's Hotel and Casino. And if you follow me on social media, you will see a lot of really special celebrity personalities came out. Had Dr. John Alexander there. And of course, I always love to say he's the only person I've ever met who was portrayed by George Clooney in a movie. And I'm talking about the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. I love the movie. The book is fascinating. And Dr. John Alexander was there. Of course, David Weatherly was there, and he has written something like 25 books He's one of my favorite writers, and one of his books is Silver State Monsters, which we incorporate into the show. We had Justin Spurrier there from Ghost Adventures. We had, of course, Las Vegas artist Irene B. Smithy. You've heard me talk a lot about her. We had Josh and Jackie from the Strange Remains Curio Shop here at Container Park in Las Vegas, and they have a big long tradition of sideshows and carnivals and traveling. I mean, it was just like, I know I'm forgetting people. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to that, and I want you to know that, hey, look, if we can all get together here in Las Vegas and party and have a good time, and everybody goes home and everybody's fine, um, then there's no reason that you should be afraid to leave your house in Kalamazoo or wherever that you live. Oh, and by the way, this coming Saturday, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow, March the 7th, when we do our Creepy Vegas Ghost and UFO show at Millennium Fandom, only for ages 21 and up. There is a very special celebrity who says that he will be there. I have not explicitly asked for his permission to give his name and say he's going to be there, but I will be there. And he is coming in from Los Angeles, and he has said that he will be there. And so, look, you just never know who you're going to encounter when you go to the Creepy Vegas show. CreepyVegas.com, CreepyVegas.com. But if you do have a kid or somebody under the age of 21, you're only going to have March and April guaranteed for them to see the show. You'll find all the details on the website. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening as usual. I have a very busy month, but there is a really interesting news story out that caught my eye. And it was Mobius who first posted this on the Joshua P. Warren Daily Facebook page. And this is from Futurism.com. It says scientists are building a quantum teleporter based on black holes. It says theoretically it would turn them into a functional wormhole. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this because it deals with some scientists from the University of Maryland. A team of physicists has a plan to build a functional wormhole that could work like a bridge across 2 points in space. And all it'll take are 2 quantum entangled black holes. Now, conventional wisdom tells us that nothing ever escapes from a black hole's immense gravitational pull. But according to theoretical research from a few years back, 2 fully entangled black holes should be able to transmit quantum information between them, rather than destroying it after it passes the event horizon of 1. Okay, let me pause for a second. So you know what they say, a black hole, it sucks in everything, and the idea is that once it gets sucked in past a certain point, they call the event horizon, well, it can never come out again. And it's just, turned into spaghetti or whatever. But what they're saying is, well, what if we take 2 black holes and connect them, which is basically a wormhole, and then that information might be able to somehow be retained so that it comes out the other side, practically instantaneously. So it says, in that sense, and I'm reading back here in the article, in that sense, the black holes would recreate a phenomenon called quantum teleportation, which engineers exploit when they build quantum computers. The physics of quantum teleportation gets impossibly dense, but it basically involves transmitting encrypted information from one machine to another. Creating and linking actual black holes in a lab is a touch beyond modern scientific capabilities, but now University of Maryland researchers Christopher Monroe and Brian Swingle told a publication called Quanta they think they can build quantum circuitry that would behave how entangled black holes would. Now, look, I could go on reading this, but the bottom line is what they are saying is it might take a while before we can transport your big, nice wooden oak desk from your house in Tennessee to your house in Kansas. However, on a quantum level, on a very, very tiny level, on an information level, they think that they might be able to tap into this same process in order to more or less exchange information instantly. So no more sitting around there waiting for your internet signal to pass through the air or a wire, so to speak. No, these two entangled points instantly are able to transfer information. And that is surely going to be happening very soon. I believe it will happen within my lifetime. I'm in my 40s, if that gives you an idea of my lifetime. I think that it's we're right on the verge of that. That, you know, the instantaneous transfer of energy. And one of the cool things about that is that the very fact that we're saying that this can be done is it also illustrates something about the makeup of reality. And that is, as above, so below. Like I've said, a black hole does not have to be just some gigantic, unimaginable thing out there in outer space. It is very, very plausible that black holes are all around us every day. And it may be that every single atom actually has what you might think of as a black hole, which is why that you have these subatomic particles that appear to be popping in and out of what we call reality. You've heard that before, right? Like there are little tiny, I mean, like an atom is so small you can't even imagine how small it is, but subatomic, like give me a break. But scientists have said there are things smaller than an atom, little subatomic particles, electrons and whatnot, that are popping in and out of this thing that you and I are touching and interacting with and calling our physical reality. Where do they go? Nobody knows. So if these little particles are popping in and out, then they are probably somehow connected to a parallel realm, a parallel universe, via these tiny little wormholes. And so if you're looking at one end of a wormhole, you call that a black hole. So these are just little connectors that connect this realm with another realm. And if indeed we get the technology that shows, sure enough, no shit, every single little particle of this whole reality is basically formed by wormholes that are connecting us to another reality, well, then what does that say about your brain, right? Because your brain is part of the physical reality, and yet there is this thing called consciousness that flows somehow through the brain, but we don't know what consciousness is. We say, okay, where are my memories being stored? I can crack open somebody's brain. I don't see the memories. Where is the personality? You know, where is the potential to play the piano in here? Or you're like, where is all that? We can't find it. Well, in my book, and I hate to go back to one of the books that I wrote once again, but by golly, I'm going to do it. In my book, The Secret Wisdom of Kukulkan, which you can find at joshuapwarren.com. This was published, I don't know, over 10 years ago, I guess. If you go to joshuapwarren.com, you click the link to the Curiosity Shop, you can buy, I believe it costs $9.95. Um, an ebook copy of The Secret Wisdom of Kukulkan, or you can buy a printed copy. Yeah, $9.95. Or you can buy a printed copy on Amazon. I want to read you a passage that I wrote toward the beginning of that book. Actually, it's like the second paragraph. So, what are you? You are one infinitely tiny pinpoint of awareness, surrounded by an ever-changing energy field. And yet that quantum speck that is you can funnel and channel vast information from the sprawling cosmos and from unimaginable dimensions. The seat of your being, consciousness, and awareness is an infinitesimally small wormhole. And what you know is the information that flows through it, in and out, connecting the energy fields flowing and standing around it. You are a faucet and drain, pouring forth data and receiving it. That is the permanent you that has always been and will always be. Anything else extending from you is temporary, fluctuating, and bound to perpetual cycles of growth and decay in many various forms. This tube of information exchange, the dynamic seat of your consciousness, we will call the wormhole brain, or WHB. Though all are similar, no two are exactly alike. Some are larger or smaller than others, able to transfer more or less. The way in which the information is ultimately processed includes the filters of your physical brain, or lack thereof, as in single-celled organisms. Though the wormhole brain of you, an eagle, a bear, and a shark are equally impressive, the physical brain determines how that initial flow of cosmic information should be used. What is relevant to that particular creature's survival at that particular time in that particular place. For example, at the wormhole brain level, you are not necessarily more intelligent than a dog, but the dog's physical brain extracts the information most suitable for the dog's survival needs, just as yours extracts the information suitable for a human. And yes, when one creature's form dies, it may eventually congeal or reincarnate into another creature's form. But there is really no such thing as death, just decay and transformation. Okay, the wormhole brain. The wormhole brain. So, do you see the connection here? That for a long time, scientists have said, scientists said there's no such thing as a black hole. And then finally, they started seeing them, gigantic ones. And then we are now moving to this phase where we say, what if they're not just gigantic ones? What if there are tiny ones all around us as well? And what if we can use them to transport our little human, information, to teleport our little human bullshit, our dick pics and stuff on a miniature scale instantly? And it's true, it's going to happen, but that tells you something. That's a big key right there to what I have been describing, to how the consciousness for you works. Where you are, where you're flowing from, it is the wormhole brain. That is you, the wormhole brain. So I think we're going to be very fortunate to see the wormhole brain function with our computer systems here in the very near future, is what I suspect. And, even though I've referenced a couple of my books in this podcast, I told you before that I'm about to post um, a collection, a set, I guess, of some very rare books of mine that I came across. I only have 35 of these sets. I just moved my museum and I've discovered some new books and stuff in the process that were in boxes here and there. And I'm about to make these 35 sets available. Um, each set has three books. One of them is the very first book that I ever wrote, called Joshua Warren's Gallery of Mystery and Suspense. And it's a first edition, first printing of that. And then one of them is a first edition, first printing of Use the Force, A Jedi's Guide to the Law of Attraction. And then one of them is I don't even want to call it a first edition. It's like the only time I ever printed a little small batch of Finding Your Magic, How to Hack Reality Through Lucid Living. I produced this just for the people who came to the original event that I did in 2018. But turns out I had just a few copies left over, a handful of copies. So, well, 35 to be exact. So, what I have done here is I put those three books together and I'm signing them all, and I'm going to sell those 35 sets. Um, and sometime this month, that's my plan. So if you would like to be notified when those are available, those 35 sets, just make sure that you are a subscriber to my free e-newsletter at joshuapwarren.com, because that will be the first thing I'll do is send out an e-newsletter blast and say, okay, I have these 35 sets, and that's it. So there is so much more to tell you about. I told you I have a very, very weird story for you from a guy who used my sigils and he combined the ghost sigil with the money sigil. And we've been trying to coordinate schedules because I want to interview him. But one way or another, I'm just going to break down and tell you the story. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a phone call arranged with him. But ironically, he actually told this on another podcast. Um, but he just has a really difficult schedule. But I haven't forgotten about that. Trust me, I'll be telling you this very weird story soon. And then, also, amazingly enough, I still have not been able to see the Brown Mountain Lights episode on the show called Uncharted Mysteries that has been airing in Europe. I have people from Europe telling me they've seen it, and I say, well, just hold up your phone or whatever and record it. Let me see this thing. So hopefully I'll be able to take a look at that and give you a report on that soon as well. But anyway, I believe that's going to do it for today. I have a big weekend ahead of me. If you're in the Vegas area, come to the Creepy Vegas show this Saturday night. That's tomorrow. I'll be there, and like I say, a very special celebrity is also supposed to be there. And if you go to my website, joshuapwarren.com, there's no period after the P, joshuapwarren.com. Check out all the cool pictures and videos and updates, and be sure to click the link to the Curiosity Shop. But you can click the link to this podcast called Joshua P. Warren Daily, and you'll find it's always short, always free, commercial free, independent, uncensored. You can subscribe through various means, or just follow me on Twitter at Joshua P. Warren, at Joshua P. Warren, and I will usually tweet when a new one is available. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for your interest and support. Thank you for staying curious, and I will talk to you again soon.